What's up, everyone? It's Brandon here again for another video. Today's video slightly different. I'm walking around the house and just gonna explain a topic that I guess has been on my mind a little bit recently. So when it comes to the word spiritual, a lot of people have different ideas. I feel like it's one of those words where almost everyone has their own individual definition for what this means. And I've noticed that when I'm trying to describe what I mean by using this word, a lot of people get lost in their own thoughts and their own definition for it. So, what does being spiritual mean to me? Ultimately, it means raising consciousness. Now, again, we're getting into another word that most people you talk to on the street aren't going to really appreciate or understand what the word consciousness means in a spiritual aspect. So, to me, spirituality in that way is basically when you're talking about raising consciousness, you're raising your awareness, basically what you are able to perceive, and also you're changing in a way how you perceive the world. And the main way that you do this, the main way that you raise consciousness is first, you need to detach yourself from your normal day-to-day ego-based identity. Ego is centered around the concept of trying to survive. If you can almost simplify it in this way. If something you're doing is a normal survival need, such as having sex, needing to go eat something, needing to drink water, all of these things are they're physical, ego-based needs. That doesn't mean that when you're doing these things, you can't be in a spiritual kind of enlightened sense of being. You can do that. But most people operate in this needy ego desire and survival-based mindset. And the ego identity, what it really is, it is all those survival things that you need, and it's also the story that you believe about yourself. It is your identity, and you have all of these ideas. Like if I talk about my own ego identity, my name is Brandon. I make YouTube videos, usually, once a week or something. I work in property management. I've worked in restaurants as a server before. Am interested in psychology. I'm interested in spirituality and raising consciousness. These are things that I attach to my own identity and sense of self. And when we're talking about spirituality, we're talking about expanding beyond that to learn how to experience a world or the world in a different way, to where you're not this one person with this one identity. A lot of what raising consciousness is expanding your awareness to where you have a greater circle of concern. A greater circle of concern as far as what do you consider to be yourself. A lot of what raising consciousness is realizing that this reality that we're in isn't just I'm living in a physical world and it's all me and the self is only Brandon Rowe. No, what a non-dual sense of the world will tell you, if you look into non-dual enlightenment, I highly suggest doing it. You really get to go down the rabbit hole all the way. But anyway, so when it comes to non-duality, what is this concept? It's the idea that there, is no longer a physical self and an external world. There is no longer, a Brandon self and then all these other people out here. You can become directly aware of the fact that this world is all, in a sense, one thing happening. And the way that that happens is through the recontextualization, changing the context in which you see the world, rather than thinking about it in this way and having thoughts run your conscious experience to where you think, I'm a physical brain, I have a mind in here, and everything I see out here is external and different to me, different than me, and I'm simply perceiving these things. If you start to break down all of these concepts that you have around this existence that focus on the ideas of, there is a physical world out here, I'm perceiving it. No, if you become conscious enough through meditation, self-inquiry, there are other methods to do it. Meditation is really probably the number one way to do it. But when you meditate and you get to a certain level in your spiritual journey to where you can directly sense that this is the case, you become aware to the point where greater intelligences, are shown to you, greater truths about the world. And the amazing thing about all of this is it can simply be brought about by you sitting alone in a chair and getting to the point where thoughts no longer run your life, and you are, for the first time, conscious that you are the observer of these thoughts. You are an observer, separate from this ego encapsulated identity that you have thought is you and all that makes you up for your whole life. You can get beyond that, and it's something that you directly can experience. I watched a video recently, and it was talking about how, now this is a little bit of a controversial topic, I'm sure. If there are Christians watching this, you might not like this idea, but it was basically looking at Jesus Christ, and it was analyzing. He went missing. Basically there's no record of, from about his early, teen years until later on in his life, there's like a black hole of information. And they say that he went to the east. Really, what this video suggested was that he went to India, he studied yoga, he became highly conscious, and then was able to do these crazy works and actually did become a spiritual master and did things that defied what people thought was possible in this reality. But the whole idea is, that video suggested that yoga is not just this thing that you do where you sit in a room. It is a science in a sense. It's a technique that is geared towards and bringing you to a spiritual enlightenment stage. It has been perfected over thousands and thousands of years. People have been doing this. This is not new. This is not new information. Luckily, though, through the internet, so many people now are waking up. They're getting access to this information and they're seeing it. Whereas if we didn't have the internet and we didn't have this new way of communicating, there would be far less people who would ever have access to this. And one great thing that I think, I've kind of gone on a lot of different tangents here, but one great thing about what people are starting to realize with spirituality is that this does not need to be held to these icons, to these amazing prophets who are better than us. No, it's understanding more the concept that anyone can become enlightened if the right steps are followed. And there also do need to be, you do need to kind of get lucky in a certain way, to have a level of consciousness to where you're able to appreciate the search for spiritual truth, the search for truth in general. That's really what enlightenment and expanding your consciousness is all about. It's about finding out what's actually going on, answering these deep metaphysical questions that pretty much all humans think about at some time or another. You know, why am I here? What's the purpose of this life? You know, is there life after death? These are things that are experientially answered without the need of some prophet telling you what to do or what God said. No, you become aware to the point that you can start to experience the divine, all of this stuff that, there are so many different words around it. Skeptics, atheists, and even people of other religions, they all turn away once you start saying words like this, like raising consciousness. But when you get to a certain level of openness in your life, where you're able to look into this concept of enlightenment and of spirituality and of spiritual growth, and you look at it with fresh eyes and stop judging it, some really beautiful and amazing things can happen. So anyway, they're my quick thoughts, quick expressions on what the word spirituality, what all of this means to me. And I hope that you guys have gotten some value out of it. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me out on YouTube, helps my video get to more people. And of course, if you want to see more, subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. Other than that, I will see you guys in another video.